They called me Weird Uncle Dennis behind my back, sometimes to my face. I'm 42 years old, never married, work as a night security guard at a warehouse, and spend my weekends building elaborate model trains in my basement apartment. I collect vintage lunchboxes. I wear the same style of flannel shirts year-round. I don't drink alcohol at family gatherings because it makes me anxious. So I stand in corners nursing ginger ale, while everyone else gets progressively louder and less interested in talking to me. At family events, I'm the obligation, the afterthought, the one they invite because not inviting me would look bad, but they seat me at the kids' table even though I'm older than half the adults there. My sister Karen has three kids, Ashley, Brian, and little Megan. Ashley just turned 16 and thinks I'm embarrassing. Brian is 13 and mostly ignores me. Megan is 8 and used to hug me at family gatherings until Ashley told her it was weird to be too nice to me. That hurt more than I expected. My brother Marcus has twin boys, Tyler and Trevor, both 20 years old and in college. They call me Uncle Creepy when they think I can't hear. Once, at Thanksgiving, I overheard Trevor telling his girlfriend that I was the family weirdo who never grew up. I pretended I needed to use the bathroom and sat in there for 20 minutes, trying not to cry. Mom died 3 years ago. She was the only one who really saw me, who asked about my trains, who remembered that I like strawberry pie instead of pumpkin, who called me every Sunday just to talk. After she died, the invitations became less frequent. The phone calls stopped entirely unless someone needed something. Last Christmas, they forgot to tell me the party location had changed. I showed up at Karen's house with a carefully wrapped set of model trains for little Megan. She'd mentioned liking trains once, and I'd spent 2 months building a custom pink locomotive, only to find the house dark and empty. I called Karen. She answered with party noise in the background. "Oh, Dennis, I'm so sorry. We moved it to Marcus's house this year. Didn't anyone tell you?" No one had told me. "It's okay," I said, standing on her empty porch with my pink train and my strawberry pie that no one would eat. "I'm not feeling well anyway. Have fun." I went home, ate pie for dinner, and added another car to my model railroad. The trains didn't judge me. They didn't find me weird or creepy or embarrassing. They just ran on their tracks, predictable and safe. That was 8 months ago. I was at work doing my rounds at the warehouse when my phone rang at 2 in the morning. Karen's name flashed on the screen. My first thought was that something had happened to one of the kids. My second thought was surprise that she'd call me at all. "Dennis?" Her voice was wrecked, raw from crying. "It's Megan." My heart stopped. What happened? She collapsed at soccer practice. They rushed her to the hospital. "Dennis, her kidneys are failing. Both of them. They don't know why yet, but they're failing fast and she needs a transplant, and we've all been tested and none of us are matches." And she broke down completely. "I'm coming to the hospital," I said, already grabbing my keys. "Which one?" "St. Mary's, but Dennis, you don't have to." "I'm coming." I drove 90 miles an hour through empty streets, my mind racing. Little Megan, 8 years old, the only one who'd ever looked at my model trains with genuine wonder instead of pity. The one who'd asked me questions about how switches worked and if trains could really go that fast in real life. The emergency room waiting area was full of my family. Karen and her husband David sat holding each other. Marcus paced near the windows. Ashley was crying into her phone. Brian sat silent and pale. The twins looked uncomfortable, like they didn't know what to do with their hands. They all looked up when I walked in, and I saw the same expression on every face, surprised that I'd come, as if I wouldn't drop everything for a child in my family, as if being weird meant I didn't care. "How is she?" I asked. "In kidney failure," David said, his voice hollow. "They're doing dialysis now, but she needs a transplant soon. We've all been tested. No one matches." "Test me," I said. Karen looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "Dennis, you don't have to." "Test me," I repeated. "Now." They drew my blood at 4 in the morning. The doctor said results would take a few hours for preliminary compatibility, longer for detailed matching. I sat in the waiting room with my family, all of us silent, all of us suspended in the terrible space between hope and despair. Ashley sat next to me, which she'd never done before. She didn't say anything, just sat there picking at her nail polish. "Uncle Dennis, she finally whispered. Yeah? I'm sorry I called you weird. To Megan, I didn't know. It's okay, I said, even though it wasn't, not really. It's not okay. You're not weird. You're just different. And I was mean about it because I'm a stupid teenager who cares too much about what people think. She wiped her eyes. Megan talks about you all the time, about your trains, about how you listen to her when she talks about her stuff. She says you're the only adult who doesn't treat her like she's dumb. I felt something crack in my chest. She said that? Ashley nodded. She asked why you stopped coming to stuff. I told her you were probably busy, but I think we made you feel like you shouldn't come. Before I could respond, the doctor appeared. Mr. Thompson? Dennis Thompson? I stood up. Everyone stood up. The doctor smiled. You're a match. A very good match, actually. Better than we usually see in non-sibling donors. The waiting room erupted. Karen burst into tears. David grabbed my shoulders. Marcus clapped me on the back so hard I stumbled. Even the twins looked at me with something like respect. But all I could think was, little Megan. I could save little Megan. What do we do next? I asked. The pre-surgical testing took 3 days. During that time, something shifted in my family. Suddenly, I was getting phone calls, text messages, people asking how I was feeling, if I needed anything, thanking me over and over. It felt good. It also felt hollow. Because I knew that if Megan hadn't gotten sick, if she hadn't needed my kidney, none of this would be happening. I'd still be weird Uncle Dennis, uninvited and unremembered. On the second day of testing, Marcus took me to lunch. We sat in a diner, both of us picking at club sandwiches, neither of us knowing how to start a real conversation. I owe you an apology, Marcus finally said. You don't... Let me finish. He set down his sandwich. I've treated you like you're less than. Like there's something wrong with you because you're not married, don't have kids, work a job that I don't understand or respect. I've let my boys mock you. Hell, I've mocked you myself. Marcus dash dash. And the worst part is, I knew better. Mom told me before she died. She said we were losing you, that we were pushing you away because you didn't fit our idea of normal, and one day we'd regret it. His voice cracked. She was right. And I'm so sorry, Dennis. I'm so goddamn sorry. I sat there, my throat tight, not knowing what to say. Because part of me wanted to accept the apology, to believe that things could be different, but another part of me knew the truth. It took a dying child to make them see me as human. I'm not doing this for you, I finally said, or for Karen, or for any of the adults. I'm doing this for Megan, because she's 8 years old and she deserves to live, and I have the power to help her. That's it, Marcus nodded slowly. I understand. But Dennis, after this is over, I want to do better. I want my boys to know their uncle. The real you, not the caricature we've created. We'll see, I said, which was the most hope I could offer. The surgery was scheduled for the following week. They explained everything. The risks, the recovery time, the fact that I'd be in the hospital for 3 to 5 days and off work for 6 to 8 weeks. The warehouse had given me unpaid leave, which meant money would be tight, but I had savings. I'd always been careful with money. What else was I going to spend it on? The night before the surgery, Karen came to my apartment. She'd never visited before. I saw her taking in the small space, the model trains that dominated every surface, the vintage lunch boxes displayed on shelves, the neat but sparse furniture. It's nice, she lied. It's weird, I corrected. You can say it. She flinched. Dennis, I don't think you're weird. I think you're particular. And I've been a terrible sister. I've excluded you, forgotten you, treated you like an obligation instead of family. And I can't even blame it on being busy or stressed because the truth is, I just didn't make you a priority. She sat on my couch looking small and broken. When Megan got sick, my first thought was terror. My second thought was guilt. Because I realized that if something happened to her, you'd be the only one who really knew her, who listened to her ramble about trains and rocks and all the weird facts she collects. You were the only one who saw her as a person instead of just a kid. She's a great kid, I said quietly. She is. And you're a great brother. and I've wasted years not seeing that. Karen pulled out an envelope. This is from David and me. For your recovery, I know the leave is unpaid, and we want to make sure you're okay. I opened the envelope. There was a check inside for $5,000. I can't accept this, I said immediately. You can and you will. You're giving my daughter your kidney, Dennis. You're giving her life. The least we can do is make sure you don't suffer financially for it. I stared at the check, emotions warring inside me. Pride said to refuse it. Practicality said to accept it. But something else, something hurt and angry, wanted to throw it back and ask why it took this for them to care about my well-being. Thank you, I finally said, because what else could I say? After Karen left, I stood in my apartment surrounded by my trains, my lunch boxes, my carefully ordered life that everyone found so strange. And I wondered, would they still care after the surgery? Or would I go back to being Weird Uncle Dennis once Megan was healed and the crisis had passed? I didn't know, but I knew I'd still do the surgery because Megan mattered more than my hurt feelings. The surgery went well. Better than expected, the doctor said. They took my left kidney, and it started working immediately in Megan's small body. She'd been so sick, so close to the edge, but now she had a chance. I woke up in recovery with pain in my side and my entire family in the waiting room. Over the next few days, as I lay in the hospital bed healing, they came in shifts. Karen and David, of course, splitting time between me and Megan, but also Ashley, who brought me magazines and sat reading quietly while I dozed. Brian, who was awkward but sincere, thanking me over and over, Marcus and the twins, bearing flowers and apologies. Even Trevor, the one who'd called me creepy, sat by my bed and said, I was wrong about you, Uncle Dennis. You're the bravest person I know. It should have felt good. It did feel good, but it also felt complicated. On day 3, they let me see Megan. They wheeled me down in a wheelchair, my incision still tender, my body weak but healing. She was in pediatric ICU, surrounded by monitors and tubes, but her color was better. Her eyes were open. Uncle Dennis, she said when she saw me, her voice raspy but excited. They said you gave me your kidney, like you had an extra one and you just gave it to me. I rolled closer to her bed. Actually, nobody has an extra kidney, but people can live with just one, so I figured you needed it more than I did. Does it hurt? A little, but I've had worse. Liar, she said, grinning. Mom says you're super brave, and I should say thank you a million times. You don't have to thank me, Megan, but I want to. She reached out her small hand, careful of her IV lines. Thank you for saving me, Uncle Dennis, and thank you for the pink train. It's my favorite thing ever. I'm going to put it in my room when I get home and think about you every time I see it. That's when I cried. Not quietly, not dignified. I cried like a child, all the hurt and loneliness and desperate need to be seen pouring out of me. And Megan held my hand with her tiny fingers and didn't say anything, just held on like I was the one who needed saving. Maybe I was. Recovery was harder than I expected. The hospital sent me home on day 5 with strict instructions. No lifting, no driving, no work for 8 weeks. Karen insisted I stay with them, but I refused. I needed my space, my trains, my routine. What I didn't expect was for them to show up anyway. Karen came every day for the first week, bringing food and checking my incision. Marcus came 3 times a week to help with errands. Ashley came after school to keep me company, and we discovered we both liked the same terrible reality shows. Brian mowed my tiny patch of lawn without being asked. The twins helped me organize my model train collection and actually seemed interested in it. It was overwhelming, it was wonderful, it was terrifying, because I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for them to remember I was weird and drift away again, for the crisis to be over and the attention to fade. But weeks passed and they kept coming. 6 weeks post-surgery, I went to Megan's welcome home party. She'd been in the hospital for almost 2 months total, but she was finally strong enough to come home. The house was decorated with balloons and banners, and when I arrived, Megan launched herself at me with a hug that made my still healing incision ache. Careful, Karen warned. I'm fine, I said, hugging her back. Yeah, the party was different from every other family gathering I'd attended. People talked to me, asked me questions, listened to my answers, Trevor introduced me to his girlfriend as my uncle who saved my cousin's life, with genuine pride in his voice. At one point, Karen stood up and clinked her glass. I want to say something, she announced, and the room quieted. 8 weeks ago, we almost lost Megan, and in our panic, we called Dennis my brother, who I'd been treating like an afterthought for years, who I'd excluded and forgotten and taken for granted. I felt my face flush. Karen, you don't have to. Yes, I do. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Dennis dropped everything, didn't hesitate, got tested, matched, and gave his kidney without asking for anything in return. He saved my daughter's life. But more than that, he showed us what family really means. Not obligation, not showing up when it's convenient, but being there, really being there. She raised her glass. To Dennis, not the weird uncle, not the obligatory invite, but the man who saved Megan and, in a way, saved all of us by showing us what we'd been missing. Everyone raised their glasses. To Dennis! I couldn't speak, couldn't process, could only nod and blink back tears. After the party, as I was leaving, Ashley caught me at the door. Uncle Dennis, would you want to come to my birthday next month? Like actually want to come, not just show up because you're invited? What do you want for your birthday? I asked. She grinned. Could you teach me how to build model trains? I think they're actually kind of cool. 3 months post-surgery, I went for my follow-up appointment. The doctor was pleased with my recovery. One kidney was working fine, handling everything my body needed. The scar was healing well. I was cleared to return to work. I should have been relieved. Instead, I felt anxious. Because returning to work meant returning to normal. And normal for me had always meant being alone. But when I got home from the doctor's office, there was a package waiting at my door. Inside was a photo album, professionally made. Leather-bound, the cover said, "The family that saved each other." Inside were pictures I didn't know existed. Me as a child with Mom, both of us smiling at something off camera. Me teaching a young Karen to ride a bike. Me at Marcus's wedding, looking uncomfortable in a suit but genuinely happy. Me with baby Ashley, her tiny hand wrapped around my finger. And new pictures. Me in the hospital bed, surrounded by family. Me and Megan, both of us healing, holding hands. Me teaching Ashley about model trains. Me laughing at something Brian said. Me actually, genuinely, being part of things. The last page had a note in Karen's handwriting. Dennis, we can't go back and undo the years we lost. We can't erase the hurt or pretend we weren't terrible to you. But we can move forward, we can be better. We can be the family you always deserved. If you'll let us. Love, Karen, Marcus, and everyone who should have seen you sooner. I sat on my couch, surrounded by my trains and lunchboxes and all the things that made me weird, and I cried. But this time, they were different tears. Not tears of loneliness or hurt, but tears of release, of letting go of the person I'd thought I had to be, invisible, unimportant, weird, and accepting that maybe, just maybe, I could be seen. 6 months after the surgery, we started a new tradition, family train night. Once a month, everyone came to my apartment. I taught Ashley and Brian, and even the twins about model railroading. We built landscapes together, painted tiny people, argued about track layouts. Karen brought food, Marcus brought enthusiasm. Megan, still building her strength but thriving with her new kidney, directed traffic and made up elaborate stories about where all the trains were going. It was chaos, it was loud, it was everything I'd usually avoid. It was perfect. One evening, after everyone had left except Karen, she helped me clean up the scattered supplies. You know what's funny, she said, carefully putting away miniature trees. We always thought you were weird because you liked trains and lunchboxes and routine, but actually you were just yourself, completely, authentically yourself. And we were too insecure to appreciate that. I am weird, I said. I've made peace with it. You're particular, there's a difference. Weird is bad. Particular is just you, and you is pretty great. I smiled, putting away the last of the paint supplies. I'm glad Megan's doing well. How was her checkup? Perfect. The kidney is functioning beautifully. Doctor says she'll need monitoring her whole life, but she's expected to live completely normally. Karen paused. She wants to be a train engineer when she grows up now. Says if trains are good enough for Uncle Dennis, they're good enough for her. She'll change her mind 100 times before she's old enough to decide. Maybe, but she'll always remember that you gave her the chance to grow up and decide. We all will. After Karen left, I stood in my apartment, my small, train-filled, perfectly organized apartment, and felt something I hadn't felt in years, belonging. I pulled out my phone and looked at the family group chat they'd added me to. There were messages about weekend plans, shared memes, arguments about whose turn it was to host Thanksgiving, normal family chaos. And I was part of it. Not because they needed something from me, not because of obligation, but because they wanted me there. It had taken a kidney, literally, for them to see me. But now that they did, they weren't looking away. A year after the surgery, Megan had her 9th birthday party. The theme was trains, obviously. She wore an engineer's cap and ran around blowing a whistle while other kids ate cake and played. At one point, she climbed onto a chair and announced to everyone, "My Uncle Dennis gave me his kidney. That means part of him is inside me, keeping me alive. So technically, I'm part train engineer already." The adults laughed. The kids looked impressed. I felt my face get hot with embarrassment and pride. Later, as the party wound down, I found myself on the back porch with Marcus. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the kids play in the yard. "You know what I realized?" Marcus said. "You were never the weird one. We were. We were so busy being normal that we forgot how to be real. You never pretended to be something you weren't. That's not weird. That's honest." I think we're giving me too much credit. I wasn't being authentic. I was hiding. From what? From rejection, from being hurt, from wanting things I didn't think I could have. I watched Megan chase another kid with her whistle, from being part of a family that didn't want me. We wanted you. We just didn't know how to show it. And after a while, it became easier to keep you at a distance than to face how badly we'd failed you. And it took Megan almost dying for that to change. Marcus winced. "Yeah, it did, and I hate that. I hate that it took a crisis for us to wake up. But I'm grateful we did wake up, even if the alarm was brutal." "Me too," I admitted, because I was. Grateful and hurt and healing all at once. "The twins asked me something the other day," Marcus continued. "They asked why I never told them about your model trains, about all your hobbies and interests, why I let them think you were just some weirdo to mock." "What did you tell them?" "The truth. That I was embarrassed by you because you didn't fit my idea of success. That I let my own insecurities poison their relationship with their uncle. And that I'm sorry." He looked at me. "They want to come work on trains with you more, if that's okay." "Of course it's okay. They're actually getting pretty good at landscape work." Marcus laughed. "Trevor told me he's thinking about joining the Model Railroad Club at his college. Said it's actually relaxing, working with his hands, creating something." We sat in silence for a moment. Then Marcus said quietly, "Thank you, Dennis. Not just for the kidney, for forgiving us. For giving us another chance when you had every right to walk away." "You're my family," I said simply. "That has to mean something." 18 months post-surgery, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Mr. Thompson, this is Dr. Sarah Chen from St. Mary's Hospital. I'm calling because we have a patient who needs a kidney transplant, and you're registered as a potential living donor. Would you be interested in being tested?" I was confused. "I already donated. I only have one kidney left." "Oh, I apologize. There must be a mistake in our records. Let me update that. But Mr. Thompson, while I have you on the phone, your donation to Megan Mitchell was so successful that we'd like to feature your story in our Living Donor Awareness campaign. Would you be open to that?" I thought about it, about being public, about people knowing. "What would it involve?" "An interview, some photos. We're trying to encourage more living donations. Show people that donors are just regular people doing extraordinary things." Regular people. That's what she called me. "Can I think about it?" "Of course, take all the time you need." I hung up and immediately called Karen. "They want to do a story about the donation," I said, "for donor awareness. I don't know if I should do it." "Why not?" "Because I don't want people to think I'm looking for attention or trying to be a hero. Dennis, you are a hero, Megan's hero, our hero, And if sharing your story helps other people, other kids like Megan, why wouldn't you do it? She had a point. The interview happened 3 weeks later. They came to my apartment, photographed me with my trains, asked me about my life and my decision to donate. I told them the truth. I did it because I could, because Megan needed it and I had it to give, because family is supposed to show up for each other. The interviewer, a young woman named Jennifer, asked, "Do you feel like the donation changed your relationship with your family?" I thought carefully before answering. The donation gave them a reason to see me, to really see me. But maintaining that relationship, building on it, that's been the work of every day since I gave them a kidney. They gave me a family. We're both still learning what that means. The story ran in the local paper and on the hospital's website. I got messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Old coworkers, high school acquaintances, distant relatives. Everyone wanting to tell me how inspiring I was, how brave, how wonderful. It was overwhelming. But more than that, it was strange, because I was the same person I'd always been. I still lived in my small apartment, still worked security, still built model trains. The only difference was that now people saw those things as quirky instead of weird, interesting instead of off-putting. I'd given away a kidney and suddenly I was worth knowing. Ashley, wise beyond her 16 years, put it perfectly when she came over one afternoon. "You know what's messed up, Uncle Dennis? You're exactly the same person you were 2 years ago, but now everyone acts like you're amazing. When the truth is, you were always amazing. We were just too dumb to notice." "Language," I said automatically. "It's true, though. You didn't change. We did. And I think that's the real story. Not about you giving a kidney, but about us finally pulling our heads out of our—" Ashley. "Butts. I was going to say butts." I laughed despite myself. 2 years post-surgery, Megan stood in front of her fourth-grade class and gave a presentation about kidney donation. She called me afterward, excited and talking so fast I could barely understand her. "Uncle Dennis, I told everyone about you and about kidneys and about how you saved my life. And Mrs. Patterson said I did a great job. And Tommy Martinez said his grandma needs a kidney. And I told him about living donation and—" "Megan, breathe." She took a breath. "Can you come to my science fair next month? I'm doing a project on organ donation, and I want you to be there." "Of course I'll be there." "And Uncle Dennis, thank you. I know I say it all the time, but thank you. For my kidney and for being my friend and for not being mad at us anymore." "I'm not mad, Megan. I never really was. Just hurt." "Mom says hurt is worse than mad because mad goes away, but hurt stays." "Your mom is very wise." "I know, she learned it from messing up with you." The honesty of children. It's brutal and beautiful in equal measure. The science fair came, and I stood by Megan's elaborate poster board about kidney donation, complete with clay models and charts and a huge picture of us in the hospital. She won second place and donated her prize money, $25, to the National Kidney Foundation. "Because Uncle Dennis gave me a kidney for free," she explained to the judges, "so I should give money to help other people get kidneys too." I'd never been prouder of anyone in my life. 3 years post-surgery, the family gathered at my apartment for what had become our monthly tradition. But this time, there was a surprise. Karen had brought someone new, a woman about my age with kind eyes and an easy smile. "Dennis, this is my coworker, Patricia. Patricia, this is my brother Dennis, the one I've told you about." Patricia shook my hand. "The train builder and kidney donor. Karen talks about you constantly." "She exaggerates," I said, feeling my face flush. "I really don't," Karen insisted. "Patricia is new to the area and interested in model railroading. I thought you two might have a lot to talk about." It was a setup, obviously, but Patricia seemed genuinely interested in trains, asking intelligent questions and listening to my explanations. We spent the evening talking about different scales and manufacturers, while the rest of the family built landscapes around us. When she left, she gave me her number. "If you ever want to talk trains or grab coffee, call me." After everyone left, Karen stayed behind. "Don't be mad," she said. "I'm not mad. You should call her. She's nice, and she actually likes trains, not just pretending to be polite." "Karen, I don't need you to set me up on dates." "I know you don't need it, but maybe you deserve it. Maybe you deserve someone who sees you first, before any crisis or obligation or family drama. I thought about that, about being seen, about being wanted not because I was useful, but because I was me. I'll think about it, I said. I called Patricia 3 days later. We went to a model train expo and talked for 4 hours. She didn't think I was weird. She thought I was knowledgeable, passionate, interesting. We've been dating for 6 months now. It's slow and careful and nothing like what I imagined romance would be. But it's real. And she knows all of me. The awkward security guard, the train builder, the uncle who gave a kidney. And she likes what she sees. 4 years post-surgery, I'm sitting in Megan's hospital room again. Not because she's sick, she's thriving, her kidney working perfectly, but because she's volunteering with the pediatric patients, reading to them and keeping them company. She's 12 now, confident and healthy and full of life. The little girl who almost died has become an advocate for organ donation, speaking at schools and community events. She's remarkable. Uncle Dennis, tell the story again, she says, gesturing to the little boy in the next bed, a 7-year-old named Carlos who's waiting for a liver transplant. Which story? The one about how you gave me your kidney. I've told this story 100 times now, to reporters, to awareness groups, to family gatherings. But I tell it again for Carlos, who's scared and waiting and hoping. 4 years ago, I got a phone call that my niece was sick. And when they told me she needed a kidney, I didn't think twice. I just said yes because that's what family does. We show up. We give what we can. We help each other survive. Carlos listens with wide eyes. Did it hurt? Yeah, it hurt, but not as much as it would have hurt to lose her. My aunt is getting tested to see if she's a match, Carlos says quietly. She's scared. That's okay. Being scared and being brave aren't opposites. Sometimes you have to be scared and do it anyway. After we leave the hospital, Megan takes my hand as we walk to the car. Uncle Dennis, I'm glad you're not weird anymore. I laugh. I'm still weird, kiddo. I still like trains and lunch boxes and being alone most of the time. Yeah, but now everyone knows that weird is good. That weird is just you being you. And you is pretty great. We drive to Karen's house for Sunday dinner. Another tradition we started. The house is full of noise and chaos and all the things I used to avoid Marcus's twins or arguing about sports. Ashley is on her phone. Brian is playing video games. David is burning something on the grill. But there's a place set for me at the table. A real place, not an afterthought. And when I sit down, conversations don't stop. People don't suddenly remember they have somewhere else to be. I'm not weird Uncle Dennis anymore. I'm just Dennis. Uncle Dennis, the one who gave a kidney and got a family in return. Was it worth it? The pain, the recovery, the fear? Every single day, every single moment. Because I didn't just save Megan's life. In a way, she saved mine too. Gave me a reason to believe I was worth seeing, worth knowing, worth loving. I still build model trains in my small apartment. I still collect vintage lunch boxes. I still work as a night security guard, though I've cut back to part-time to have more time for family events and volunteering at the hospital. I'm still me, still particular, still quiet, still uncomfortable at loud parties. But I'm not invisible anymore. I'm not forgotten. I'm not the obligation. I'm family. And that kidney I gave away 4 years ago, best investment I ever made. Because you can't put a price on belonging.